Hi, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Trap Chat. I am your host, Kirsten Greggs, and I am thrilled to be joined today by Rhona Pierce. For those of you who do not know her, she is a talent acquisition consultant, speaker, content creator, just captivating storyteller coming to us, and we're going to get to this a little bit later, from Tulsa, Oklahoma, by way of Panama. Like she left Panama to move to Tulsa, Oklahoma, and we're going to hopefully get the back story on that. Verona has 15 years of experience in TA. Another interesting tidbit: transition from being a software engineer and project manager into talent acquisition. Right now, her company does training and consulting, teaching talent acquisition practitioners and business leaders how to hire strategically and create memorable candidate experiences. Recognized as a LinkedIn top voice, and like I said, just a captivating storyteller, been on multiple podcasts, featured in publications, and we are so thrilled and excited and happy and honored to have her here today. Rhona.
Amazing. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, absolutely. So let's just jump right in. Please share your journey from being a software engineer and project manager to becoming a recruiter and talent acquisition consultant. And then what prompted that transition?
Like most people, I just fell into this. So software engineering, I liked it. I did good at it. I moved from software engineer to project manager, and I was in management pretty quickly. I was working at a software company and I was overseeing operations for the company. And I was extremely vocal about my not being pleased with our recruiting partner. And my boss, the CEO, I think he got tired of hearing me complain about them all the time. And one day he's like, fine, you're in charge of recruiting now. It's under your department, which was operations. And I really think he was trying to call my bluff. The thing is, he didn't really know me that well. He should have. I had been working with him for 3 years, but he didn't know me that well. And I was like, yeah, challenge accepted. I got in the weeds of hiring. I teamed up. I got together with the team and with our recruiting partner, which was an external agency. And we really tried a lot of things. I learned a lot and turned things around. But as I was doing that in that process, I really fell in love with it. I always loved the interviewing. I was always been like at career fairs, a hiring manager, but just the hunt part of it, the finding the people, the attracting people, I really loved it. And then a few years later, when I had the opportunity, I got a role where I was leading a recruiting team full time, and I haven't looked back since, really.
Wow. And for anyone who has never listened to a recruiter talk before, that it seems to be the story for everyone. They kind of fell into recruiting, either as their only fall or as a fall after they'd already had a successful career doing something else. But one thing that I think folks would like to know is, how did you adapt to those unique challenges, the differences in work culture from being, on the software engineering side, and moving from a technical role to a recruiting role. And for anyone who is thinking about a similar career transition, either in or out of recruiting or in or out of technology, what advice would you give them based on your own experience?
That's a really good question. I think really one of the main differences is that when you work with other engineers, no one is really afraid of trying new things. With TA and HR folks, it's a bit different. Typically, folks are more used to doing things a certain way and not really questioning why things are done that way. They don't really typically, I don't like generalizing, but typically, my experience, like questioning or challenging their own beliefs. And that's like the main difference for me. I really wasn't willing to change that about myself. I think that's one of my strong suits, is always questioning, why are we doing things this way? Is there a better way to do it? So I started sharing when I transitioned into it. I started sharing with my teams. Sorry, I started sharing. I don't know what just happened. I started sharing all the experiments and everything that I was trying with my teams, and then just slowly getting them on board, but not in a rude way. I didn't question things like, why are you doing this? It was more out of like curiosity, not judging anyone. And that's my advice for anyone transitioning from a more technical role to a role in recruiting and HR. There is going to be difference. People aren't always willing to question things. It's not like an engineer. That's how you're trained to do. That's your job. Question things, do things better type of thing. Approach it as something that you're curious about, not judging why people are doing things a certain way.
Yeah, that's a great segue, because one of the things that drew me to you online, I mean, obviously I follow a lot of people follow me, but I wouldn't have invited you here if you didn't have something new to say and something exciting to say and something that, has not been done before. But you talk a lot about the perception of TA teams and recruiting teams, saying there's a perception problem that ultimately results in TA teams being undervalued. And your passion, one of your passions is to change that. So how do you think TA teams can overcome this perception problem and effectively demonstrate their importance and value that they give to organizations?
Really, I always recommend speaking the same language that the rest of the business is speaking. We in TA and in HR, we tend to be very people centric, which is great. I mean, don't stop being people centric. But most of the leaders in other departments don't really care about candidates and employees the same way we do. They care about bottom line, product adoption. And people hate it when I say this and are like, no. It's the truth. It's not that. It's not something bad. It's just the nature of who they are. So knowing that, when you talk about the things that you do, your wins, talk about them in the same way that they would talk about, right? Don't talk about how this new sourcing channel is the best and all that you've accomplished. Talk about how 50% of the people that come from that sourcing channel that you found ramp up faster and are able to contribute to the organization quicker or make a bigger impact. Quantify things. Like that's just an example, but you get what I'm talking about.
Absolutely.
I have a full blog post where I go in depth into that. And I'm also doing a newsletter in a couple of weeks where I go deeper into that. But I always tell people, don't be afraid to share your wins. Like Chad from sales and Mary Kate from product are always talking about their wins. And they wouldn't be winning if it weren't because of you, because you got them the people to win. So don't be afraid to talk about it, but talk about it in a way that keeps their interest and speak their same language.
Yeah, I'm so glad you mentioned that. And it sparked a previous blog post that I did on ERE, actually. I interviewed one of my best friends, Shirani Fernando. She's a project manager, and we had worked together at a government contracting company she was the project manager for our systems implementation, our new ATS, our new HRIS. But she's a project manager, but she's not an HR or a recruiter. So one of the questions I asked, like some of the feedback she gave me was that the recruiters, especially when they are, hiring people for her team, they seem to think that she knows everything that they know, or that, like you said, she's interested in the same things that they are. Like she's really looking for, and I think other hiring managers will say the same. Like she's looking for the recruiter to be the expert. Tell me everything I need to know about this person. I'll worry about the technical skills. I'll worry about, how they're going to, mesh with the team and what they can bring to the team that's missing. You tell me, your part. And I think that I think that's another perception thing recruiters need to get over as well, is that I think a lot of times we kind of shrink ourselves, and, we don't come across as knowledgeable and as the subject matter experts that we actually are, because we're thinking about subject matter expertise in terms of the role and not subject matter expertise in terms of our ability to find the correct and best candidates for the position.
That is so true. And it's something that I always stress to every team, every recruiting team that I've led. Because
Yeah.
people are like, oh, well, you've got an advantage, especially when we're hiring technical roles. Like, you've got an advantage because you're a developer. It's like, guys, I haven't written a single line of code in years. That changes so quick. I'm no longer a developer. Yes, I can have a technical conversation with someone, but
Yeah.
my expertise and what I bring to the table is the same thing that you bring. You know where to find the people that we need. You can analyze what a team is needing, why people are leaving, and decide, look, the people that have this thing that makes them successful at our company hang out here. I'm going to go start those relationships, network, and bring those people in. You are the subject matter expert on how to find the right people for the team. So don't shrink yourself by thinking, oh, well, I'm not technical. Who cares?
Right. I'm not. I mean, I can barely turn my laptop on most of the time. But I make that clear to the hiring managers I support. Like, listen, you guys speak to me very plainly because I'm going to look at you and be like, what? But that's enough about me. That's enough about me. Everyone knows that I'm, lacking in the technology area. One of the things that you also talk about a lot is creating memorable candidate experiences. That's a main focus for you. So can you provide just one example, because we don't want you giving away your intellectual property for free, on how organizations can achieve this? And then what's the impact on talent attraction and retention?
That's a great question. It's something I'm really passionate about. And I always start by telling people, focus on the small things. Like, everyone's always focusing on like, oh, to improve candidate experience, we have to do this thing. And I mean, there's tons of HR. There's always a new HR tech vendor telling you that they've solved candidate experience. The truth is, you can spend hundreds of thousands of dollars a year on tools. If you don't have the basics down, and if you don't focus on the small things and how you treat people, none of that is going to make a dent or even improve your candidate experience. It's experience. It's in the word. It's how people are experiencing the process. So how you treat them, the small things, like, is your application super complex? Why? You want people to apply. So make it as easy as possible. Is your application mobile friendly? Most people use the internet. Like, we know this. People browse the internet on phones and tablets more than on computers. Why is your career site and your application form not mobile friendly? Like, just things like that make a true impact on candidate experience. And just having, I shared today actually about companies sending thank you notes to candidates.
Yeah, I saw that. You and Kat.
Yeah. And funny story how that started. I was working with a hiring manager who was one of her criteria for hiring people was whether they had sent a thank you note or not. I was absolutely against that. And when she asked me, like, she was excited about someone, we had actually crafted the offer, got it approved, everything. And before sending it, she's like, oh, did this person send you a thank you email? I was like, absolutely not. Like, we're not stopping this. And then I turned it around. And from that point forward, I started having my hiring managers send thank you notes after the interviews. And I would be like,
interesting.
Yeah, like in your interview, from their feedback, I would show them how to be like, okay, this thing stood out from your feedback. We're not giving anyone false hopes. We don't know if they're getting the role or not. But right after the interview, thank them because they spent the time. We have jobs. They spent the time to prepare for this for free. Send them a thank you note. That blows candidates' minds. Something as
that. Is that in addition to the recruiter doing the follow-up as well?
Yeah. Okay. It's just, thank you for your time. I really enjoyed talking about this. You'll hear back from us and
that's something you can automate. I love it. I love that. I'm going to steal that. Thank you.
No
I'll give you credit for it, but I am definitely stealing that. I love it. I love it. Let's shift a bit to social media. We all recognize the power of it, the good and the bad. And I think for a lot of people, they find it difficult to harness using social media for TA effectively. Some of it, I think, is, if people try to ride trends out too much, or they try to do something that's not authentic to them, or something that they don't even enjoy. As a person, they're like, oh, well, I'm going to start making TikTok videos, but you don't even like TikTok. Like, you don't go on TikTok. Your audience is not on TikTok, and somebody's already doing like this. I mean, I don't get me wrong. I believe that, just because there's one can of peas doesn't mean that you can't have different brands. But like, if you don't even want to do that, if you only want to do something just because someone else has been successful at doing it, that's not the right thing. So what's a best practice that you recommend for leveraging social media to attract qualified candidates, clients, and opportunities?
I love this topic, and I agree with what you said. Like, don't do anything you don't want to do or you don't enjoy doing. It's not sustainable. But really, you need to know who you're speaking to. A lot of people post for everyone, or they post, oh, I want to talk about this topic because it's trending, or I want to do this because someone else did. But your people aren't on TikTok or aren't on LinkedIn. They don't watch video. Like, know who you're talking to. And after you've identified that person, you can know like what their desires are, what their fears, what their problems are. Your content should speak to one of those. I literally, when I post, and for my business and also when I'm recruiting, I do not write a single piece or hit publish on a single piece of content unless I can correlate it to a problem, a desire, or like a fear that my ideal person has. If it doesn't solve any of that, if it doesn't help them in any way, don't post it. It's not relevant. Also, like, show them why your company is unique. Like, if you do the same thing that everyone else is doing, you're just going to be drowned in the noise, in the sea of people out there on social media. So like, show the reality of what makes your company unique. Your company isn't for everyone. You're not supposed to be trying to attract everyone. Right. So with recruiting content, and I always tell recruiters I work with, you don't want it to go viral, because if your post goes viral, it defeats the purpose. You're not attracting your ideal candidate. You really aren't.
Ooh, I like that. And I'm thinking back to this one Saturday. I think it was either in 2020 or 2021. That one recruiter who made that post about lowballing someone on their salary. You remember that?
Yes, I remember.
I don't want to give that. I haven't seen haven't heard from that person since. And then there were a bunch of us, not me particularly, not you specifically, but there were some influencers who kept giving that person a platform to explain themselves and do all these things, and now they've vanished into obscurity. Oh, that's cute. So yeah, you don't necessarily want to go viral, but I will say I went viral. And it was like a week ago, like, again, 2016 or 17, when Trump first got elected, and that lady, Heather Wick, remember her? She said, I hope Trump brings back slavery because I need a maid. And she was a recruiter for in healthcare for like, and a former medical doctor, and like filling like senior citizen homes and things like that. So, and I put up a post, like I wasn't trying to, but I put up something on Facebook, and then and for 2 years, like this continued. Like people, like every year where it would come back, people would be like attacking me and telling me I was this. Like I had 700 comments on my personal Facebook page, let alone like we were not playing that. Like we were like, get her off. You need to be out of recruiting. So like that kind of thing, I'm for going viral when you when you do something, or even when your company, celebrates a great win and everybody comes and you have 20,000 impressions in 2 minutes, like that kind of thing is kind of cool.
I mean, that's awesome. I've gone viral a few times on TikTok. I mean, TikTok
That's awesome.
is a whole other world.
Yeah.
People love you or hate you. There's no in between on TikTok.
Yeah.
But again, as you're creating your content, your goal can't be to go viral. I work with so many people who are like, oh, well, but I don't have enough followers. No, your goal is to reach the few people that you need to build your pipeline. You don't need a pipeline of 100,000 people. That you don't want. Who's going to review all those resumes? Like, no.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. Okay, we are at okay. I've been talking a lot. So we got to talk about it. I specifically said, you know what, I'm not going to spend too much time on DEI because honestly, I'm tired. I devoted a whole month to it in October, had your former coworker Tara on to talk about it. I mean, we live it every day. We talk about it ad nauseum, but it's ramped up a lot. The challenges to DEI efforts in both academia and in the corporate sector. But you mentioned your newsletter, and one of your newsletters recently highlighted the importance of measuring success of diversity hiring strategies. Can you just elaborate a little bit more on why focusing on the movement of each demographic through stages and retention rates is more crucial than just the number of hires from a specific demographic? And then how can organizations foster real conversations to ensure the effectiveness of their DEI hiring strategies?
Yeah, I'm like you. We've spoken about DEI. I live it. It's been there. But a lot of people, a lot of companies focus on, okay, how many Black people have we hired? How many women have we hired? DEI really isn't collecting people to make your company photos look like the United Nations. It's not. That's just tokenism. So if you're only measuring the number of people that you hire from a specific demographic, you are 100% doing it for clout and not because you truly believe in DEI. And that's something that gets me lots of hate, but it's absolutely true. You're also setting your recruiting team up for failure because they aren't the only ones involved in the process. And I think we've spoken about this. I'm tired of it. We don't have a top of funnel problem. Like, that's not the problem. The problem is that people don't move through the funnel, through the pipeline in an equitable way. So the only way to fix the DEI problem that we have is to tackle the problem. Why aren't people moving through stages? You can't fix a problem if you don't look at the data. So when you look at the data and you track the trends and analyze where people are falling off, that's how you can have real conversations with the business about how to improve things. And that analysis shouldn't stop after people are hired. Like, HR needs to keep tracking as the life cycle or the stages of employment to see where things are broken down. There's no point in collecting people from different demographics and not providing a safe environment for them to that they belong and for them to be able to succeed. Again, that's just tokenism. That's like, if people aren't going to stay, you're going to be on that hamster wheel of like, let's find more people. Let's check this box. 3 women, 3 Black people, 3 this. It's like, it's not that. So it really goes back to what I was talking about having data to support speaking the language of the business. And look, if you look at and analyze things and see that only people from Ivy League universities pass your assessment phase, you present that data to management. And if they're cool with that, okay, that's what they value. That's the people that they want. Don't tell me that we're not doing enough or bringing enough people for top of funnel if I'm showing you the data here that people are falling off of this specific demographic for this reason every single time at this phase. Let's tackle that problem.
Yeah, I love that. That's been my experience. Like they want to get presented. They want a diverse slate, of course. They want to interview diverse people, but they're ultimately going to hire the person that they want to hire. So why are we doing this? Like, let's not even pretend. Let's just move along. So the last question I have for you in our, get to know Rhona period of the conversation. Like I don't say this lightly. Like it has been inspiring to watch your business evolve. To go transition from consulting to like a clear and like focus on content creation and training services for talent acquisition teams. So, what motivated that shift, and how do you envision your newly redefined offerings playing a pivotal role in empowering TA teams for success in today's dynamic talent landscape?
Thank you. I mean, deep down, I think what I've always wanted to do is be a content creator. Like, even before that was a term. Most people don't know this, but back when I enrolled in college, I actually enrolled in journalism and mass communications. And
Oh, wow.
yeah, I took a 6-month break before starting college, and just due to many factors, mostly being an 18-year-old, feeling the pressure of having to figure out your life, I switched before my first day to software engineering. But everything, yeah, creating content and training people was always like at the core of everything that I did. So I feel it's a natural transition now. I did it because I really want to make an impact on this industry. And I just sat and thought, look, as a consultant, you can only work with a handful of companies at a time if you want to remain sane, and not burn out. But if I create content, if I create a platform where this content can be consumed, I can reach a
Mm,
larger, a broader audience and really make an impact on the industry.
that is awesome. That is awesome. So it's time for rapid fire questions. Questions that I ask every guest just to get to know them a little bit better as a person and not as a person who does certain work. So, what is the best piece of career advice you never took or that you took later in your career?
I took this one later in my career, like later as in literally last year. But who you work for is really the most important thing.
Oh, wow.
If you can't get along with your manager, if the relationship isn't one where there is trust, then you have to leave. As hard as you try, it's not going to turn around. You have to leave. If your manager can't be your biggest supporter within the organization, then you're just wasting your time. You really are.
I love that. That's the first time we've heard that. What advice would you give to your early career self?
Hmm. Money is important. It's not the only thing, but it is important.
Yes.
And you really have to advocate for the salary that you deserve because no one else is going to do it. I
Mhm.
used to like, oh, I'm going to go in and I'm going to work and people are going to see how great I am and give me. No.
No, they're not. Unfortunately, they're not. They're gonna they're gonna recognize how much extra work you're doing, and they're gonna give you more work to do.
Exactly. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
and to be happy at a job, the money has to be right. It's one of
Mhm.
the factors that I've learned in my career that I need to be happy. I can love everything about the job. If the money isn't there, I don't love the job.
Okay. So here's a setup question. If you wrote a book describing your career so far, what would the title be? And are we going to see it drop in 2024 or early 2025?
Well, I'm not good at titles and at naming things. Anyone who follows me online knows this. So I think it would be a pretty long title, something like She Believed She Could, but she was tired. So she took a break and everything worked out. And my mom's dream since I was a kid, because I always used to write books and write stories, was
Mhm.
that, oh, you have to write a book. She's compiled all of my stories from when I was a kid. She wants me to write a book.
It's already there. It's done. Published.
I don't know. Maybe someday. I think it's something that I would eventually end up doing. But yeah, it would be about how I worked, and realized, you know what? I can take a break and everything's going to work out.
Okay. Again, Tara, did you hear that? Her book is already written and she did not publish it. What fictional character gives you a glimpse of yourself?
I think Beth Pearson from This Is Us.
Really?
Yeah, like especially that episode where she lost her job. The first time I got laid off, I was in that place. I was like, my entire identity was shattered. I no longer had my career I had worked so hard for. And like all the pressures from her family to choose the right career path, I identify with that a lot.
Whoa. That says a lot. I gotta sit with that for a second. Been there, been laid off multiple times. And I don't think it was maybe till like the third one that I didn't feel personally attacked or like I lacked something. I can definitely appreciate that. So shout out to Beth Pearson and the whole Pearson family. This Is Us was a great show. If you haven't seen it, I believe it's on one of the streaming services. So go check it out. That was not a commercial unless they'd like to pay us. What is your go-to song or songs or music genre when you want to hype yourself up to conquer the day?
Eye of the Tiger is my official hype
Are
song.
you serious?
For work, before interviews, I do CrossFit. So before a competition, before something, Eye of the Tiger is my hype song. I don't know why. As far as genre, I think it really depends. Obviously, I don't listen to Eye of the Tiger on repeat every single day. But when I really need to be like inspired or get in a creative mode, I go back to my island roots and listen to reggae and dancehall.
Okay. So we didn't talk about it. It didn't come up, but I need to bring it up because I need to know why you would leave the island for Tulsa, Oklahoma. And I'm sure Tulsa's a beautiful, beautiful place. Wonderful. Very historic place. But yeah, why?
My husband's from here.
Okay.
And we met and we decided this was the place where he could run his business. He doesn't speak Spanish, so it's a lot harder for him. It's just a lot easier for me to come here. And yes, days like today when it's extremely cold and I know it's summer back home, I question why I'm here.
No, you did.
I love him so much, and that's really why I'm here. Love.
Okay, shout out to your husband. Shout out to Love. Tulsa should pay you for giving up Panama for Tulsa. So what are you most looking forward to this year?
Really my business and like building all of the things that I've been dreaming of for so many years. Like this is the year that I'm just gonna lay it all out, go for it, and just try what I've always wanted to do.
All right, and then tell the folks, what's next for you. If you want to shop your newsletter, your website, any of your services, and then where they can go to support you.
Great. So yeah, this year I'm launching a community for TA professionals like to access educational content that's actionable, specific, and really relevant to the current challenges that we have in our industry. I don't have a launch date yet, but the best way to stay in the loop is really to join my newsletter, rhonapierce.com/subscribe. And you can join it there. And every week I just send really actionable advice. It's a preview of the content that's going to be on the platform that I'll launch later this year.
All right, awesome. So make sure you do that. Make sure you follow on the website, subscribe to the newsletter, follow on LinkedIn, check out the videos on TikTok. Even if you go today and don't go back until, a week later, you're going to take some time. There's a wealth of information on her channels. And we just are so grateful that you took the time out of your schedule and your content creation and training to come and talk to the folks here at Trap Chat. We look forward to our next conversation next week. I don't know dates. I think it's the 31st. We're going to have Elena on. So we're staying in the creative media side. I'm very excited about that. For those who don't know, Elena Valentine, come back. Thanks again for watching Trap Chat, and we will see you soon.
Amazing. Thank you so much.